if you want power, you have to give up control. Big week coming up tomorrow. Here, I'm still thinking about setting up a great 2021. And so just tonight, as you know, I spend a ton of my time surrounding myself with people that can just share wisdom with me, share their experiences, share their wins, but also their failures. And so I do a lot of masterminding, right? I make a consistent habit of surrounding myself with people. And a statement was shared. It was, if you want power, you have to give up control. And the conversation centered around also what we do often with people in our organizations, employees, agents, typically employees though. This is where I think the connection for me is how many agents I talk to that have tried to hire that first assistant, for example, or try to bring on agents. But let's really focus on the assistant, right? Or the marketing person, the operations person, and all the complaints, the lack of self-accountability and lack of self-awareness, because the comments that agents will consistently make are things like, man, they just wouldn't do their job, or I'd try to make them do this, or they would do it, but not my way. And invariably, what ends up happening is that the employer starts to kind of squeeze into the space, right? Like blur the lines between what's this person's job and what's mine. And we were having this leadership conversation. And so the quote was brought up, if you want control, if you want power, you have to give up control. And I just wanted to share that here with you because it is so much about that. In the process of hiring people, I actually talk about the fact that you have to have the empowerment conversation. And the empowerment conversation is one where you give up control. You literally empower somebody to fail. You encourage them to almost. So here's the conversation that I have when we're bringing people on. And the key is get out of the way. If you have to consistently be in the way, you're either a bad leader or you have the wrong person. But there's a problem either way, right? So either it's the wrong person because you shouldn't have to do that. Or look, if that happens once, great. If it happens a second time, fine. If it keeps happening, the common denominator is you. So you have to be self-aware enough to figure out if you're the common denominator in the way of all these bad hires, right? So the empowerment conversation I always have with people when they come on is, let's just say we just hired Susie. And it's something to the effect of, Susie, just want to grab I just want to grab a word with you. And I want you to know that I trust you. I hired you, we hired you, our organization believes in you, we trust you. And in that, we also trust that you're going to fail at times. Because if you're never failing, if you're never making mistakes, if you're never tripping up, that tells me that you're also not living our core values, one of which is always innovating. So you cannot always be innovating. You cannot be displaying leadership, which is another core value of ours, right? Everyone a leader. You cannot do it if you're so hesitant and so scared and so afraid to fail. And so I expect that you will. Now, let's make an agreement that we're not going to fail at the same thing over and over. Let's make an agreement that we're not going to, repeat the same mistakes. But I do want you to know that the day you make a mistake, all we're going to need to do is just take the opportunity to learn from it. And I expect you to. And I believe in you. So, in any way, you have to have this conversation. Okay, I'll come out of like this little role play. You have to have a conversation to empower people to do their job. And then you have to do your job, which is to allow them to do their job. If you want power, you have to give up control. The people that have, we've all talked to them, we've all seen them, right? It's everybody else's fault because no one works, no one's smart enough, no one knows how to do anything. I'm the only one that knows how. They can do it, they just don't do it as good as me. And what happens is that person is forever stuck. So just wanted to share what stood out for me. Maybe it makes a difference in your life, maybe not, for all I know. But the spirit of always giving here to the real estate community, which the majority of my Facebook page is made up of, or even just business people, right? Business people. This applies to business across the board. Wanted to share it. Hopefully it's useful to you. And why don't you run a little self-assessment as well? Where have you been getting in the way of growth? Have you been getting in the way of where you're really wanting to be because you have to consistently interfere with how the newsletter gets done? Or because you have to consistently interfere with what that email right there looks like, or you have to consistently interfere with just some other trivial detail. Now, it's not a trivial detail in that those things don't matter. If they didn't matter, we wouldn't hire someone to do it. But it is trivial in the sense that of the bigger picture, which in theory is the reason you've hired this person to begin with, is so you could step back and lead. So you can step back and see around corners and be a visionary for your company and grow and to really start to think about the reasons that people will follow you to the ends of the earth, so to speak, in your organization. And so I encourage you to just take that in, be honest with yourself. Are you getting in the way? Is your hesitancy or just downright, refusal of giving up control, is it getting in the way of what you really want? Increased power. And power in a very positive way, right? Power in a way in which you have the power to grow because you're adding more value to the people in your business, to your employees, therefore to your customers. Hey, let me know what you think about that. Leave a comment below. And if you want to grab a strategy call with me, just hit up strategycallwithdan.com.